So thank you for joining the panel to all of you. What we're going to do is I'm going to start by asking some questions to the panel, all of you the same, and then we'll have some individual questions, and then we want to see if we have time, we also will include you here in the audience if you have some questions. So first of all, the term digital now covers so many aspects of business, both at an operational and a marketing level. So how do you see the role of social media and digital communications affecting the sales of plants and flowers to the consumer in the future? And I'm wondering also, does this give the grower more influence on the consumer? How does it change that relationship? So maybe I start with Jan, first of all, on this one.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep,
oh, no?
We hear you. Yep.
Okay, yes. Yes, talk about social media and influencers. We have, it's good to start telling that we can separate the business as in the Dutch Flower Group. We have a big B2C part of our business and also a B2B. And in both channels, influencing and social media is a big part of our mix, of our marketing mix, mainly to create awareness, mainly to have inspiration, and like Domingo was telling, it creates a lot of leads. So it's an integral part of our marketing mix in our different companies, for sure. And it costs also a lot of money to all the events and the content creation, etc. But we invest in that, yes, and it's important. But it's just a part, not the only part, just a part.
But do you see that as a changing part into the future?
It's becoming more important, but it's already for the last years. For us, it's more difficult to get the right channels before, you create so much content and you have to pinpoint that. I see more challenges in the Google search, to be honest, and the amounts we have to pay there than in influencing. And I don't know if it's becoming more or less. I think it will stay the way it is today. I don't see it become more important or less important. Yeah, it's just a part of our mix.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Stephen, if I put the same one to you.
Yeah, I think that as industry, we are lagging really behind all the industries. And also because the products are, the product doesn't have a lot of margin in it. It's difficult to think about how it can influence the consumer side. I'm completely focused on B2B, the relationship between farmers and exporters. And I was thinking how this could influence on that side, because farmers see their buyers as their customers. And there's a lot of relationships already on a personal way. Because what you see in our industry, especially in Europe, you see that people are already working there for many, many years. Sometimes the relationships are going over 30, 40 years. The question is, this will be replaced by new people, and maybe in this part, social media can also play an important role. But at the moment, I see that for example, in the Florida system, I see some communications possibilities between buyers and farmers, but they are not used, as you can see, on social media. So there's a lot to win in this part.
Okay, thank you. So you're still seeing the main emphasis of it in the B2B level, rather than the grower having more reach directly to the consumer and using it in that way. Yeah.
I don't see that this will change a lot in the very near future, also because of the current economic condition and a lot of cost which has to be made to start this kind of adventures.
Yeah. Okay, if we go to Abe now, because you your supply chain is maybe a bit shorter than it is over here, in that you're growing and then straight to the retailer, and your scale as a business is so huge that you have a weight in the market which perhaps other individual businesses don't have. How do you see that use of social media and digital communications and your interaction as a supplier business to the consumer?
Yes, I appreciate that, Tim. Yeah, we sell directly to retailers, so a little different model. I will tell you it's different for even different forms of social media. You know, you have consumers They plan on Pinterest. They buy on the retailer website. They fix stuff by going to YouTube. They brag to their friends by going to Facebook and Instagram. So there is no one form of social media. There's so many pieces and parts you have to play in, because you need to be part of that plan process. You need to understand the buy process. You got to help consumers fix things, and you got to figure out where consumers are bragging at so they buy from you again. I will say that I don't believe it gives the grower more power. I think what the first participant said, that there's so much cost in developing content, building infrastructure, things of that nature. I really believe that, you know, in the 1950s to 1980s, the growers who had availability had a lot of the power in the U.S. Live goods market. In the last 30 years, the retailers have had a lot of power, the big box retailers and Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot. And I believe the next 30 years, it's going to be the consumer, not the grower, who has the power. The consumer has all the access to availability, all the access to pricing. They have so much more information, and that information gives them power in the relationship. So we're going to have to figure out how to interact with the consumer on a different level if we want to continue to succeed.
Okay, thanks, Abe. And of course, you are directly talking with those big stores, the Walmarts and so on in the US. What role do you see them playing in this, and how are they making that connection between your product and their customers?
Yeah, I think it's a big part. You know, they do the number one thing we can't do. We can set up infrastructure, we can do fulfillment, we can actually develop content. We're good at that on the site, but they drive demand. All the traffic goes to their websites, whether it's Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and now the emergence of Amazon in the space. You have those four retailers controlling 60–70% of the US business in live goods, but more importantly, they control 90–95% of the traffic. And the faster they convert that traffic, the more they gain share. And that is the same in the stores, the physical stores, as it is in the digital space. They're not great at it yet, but they're getting better fast. And the pandemic only accelerated that. It gave them a lot more power in gaining share during the pandemic, because more people went to them rather than independent garden centers during the pandemic. And so that's even both online and in store. And that's only accelerated that transition that we see.
Yeah, okay, because I guess you have the two different models, the one that started off with just the shops with the bricks and mortar, and the others that have just been digital from the start. Thanks, Abe. Pablo, for you as a flower grower in Colombia, I know also you are involved in marketing, your committee of marketing in Floras in your association in Colombia. How are you, as the growers in Colombia, maybe you could feel a long way from your customers. How do you feel social media is something you're using as an individual grower and as an industry in Colombia?
So thank you, Tim. It's very well known that social media has become a place where many sorts of content are getting together, and it's exposed in a very rapid way for many audience. So it's a fact, social media is influencing many people, and it's the right place so that you can expose the stories that anyone can be part of. So influencing people, telling what's going on behind the scene as a grower or as an industry in Colombia can be very inspiring for the audience we're interested in. But in the other way, it's a great way to collect data from the final consumer to take actions within our companies and within our industry, because we can target, and now there are many tools that allows you to collect data from a specific topic, so you can take decisions in the industry to be more pertinent with what you're doing. So yeah, that's my point.
Okay, that's interesting. So there's the whole harvesting of information from consumers that you can get from social media. So maybe for organization like Royal FloraHolland, where your main focus is B2B, but you are still interested in servicing the needs of that end consumer, do you make use of data and consumer activity data, which is happening at the end of that line?
World Ornamental is not using this. The question is, are the farmers using this when they are choosing their business model and the way what are they going to produce? And of course, there's a lot of information available, and we have also advisory services on that one. And we are combining, especially with World, we are combining consumer information. But in the Netherlands, we have decided that the whole marketing of flowers and plants is done by a separate foundation. And there the information is gone, and it's mostly going to companies like Jan.
Which takes us nicely to Jan and to follow on from that. How do you, you are the one who, every day you're talking to the retailer, yes? You're face to face with them, you're talking to the florist shops, and like Abe, in his situation, you are talking to the retailer. Where do you see, how does that relationship work between you and them when it comes to this digital communication, this reaching the consumer? Do you have to support them in providing content for them also? How far does it go for you?
On both sides. So yes, we do a lot of research, and of course we have a contract with Google, so we know what people are searching for in Germany and what their interest is, where the clicks are. So yes, we have a lot of market info, and we share that, of course, with our retailers. And we make plans for the marketing, so how to approach, and of course we advise them, or we work together, with the big European, by the way, also in the US. We advise them what to do digital, but again, it's a part of the total marketing mix, and we create content from them. And on the other hand, we also have a business called eFlora that we just arrange everything for the e-commerce for retailers. So there are different retailers in Europe. We take care of their website, their e-commerce store, also for flowers and plants. So we just arrange everything. We just put the brand of Waitrose or whatever on it. Yeah. So we work very closely, and the retailers are very open to it. Sometimes you feel like retailers are, the guys from the outside, and they don't like the flowers and plants, but they are very open to it. They also have the same goal of trying to sell more, trying to make more money, also for the farmers. So, that spooky sometimes image of the retailers. No, in my experience, we can work very good together. Of course, sometimes you have to negotiate. But at the end, I agree with Abi, it's all about the consumer. If you can seduce the consumer, and they have the power.
Yeah.
And if you do that together, we have some great results. Yeah. So partnership also there.
Yeah. And you're dealing with the florist shop, but I guess also you have customers who are just digital selling of product.
Yeah.
And do you see that, how would you see that market changing? Do you see more of your customers are going to be just online people selling digitally compared to the retailer?
What you saw, maybe everybody hear me, because it feels like it's not on. Is it on or not? Yeah,
it is on. They keep having the switches.
You see in the online business, of course, 2019, everybody was trying to make some money and trying to grow. And then we had the whole year, I call it almost a 2021. So everybody was selling, also including ourselves. Everything went online. But now, 2022, it's minus whatever, 15, 20, in some markets even 35%. So the online business is getting back to the normal shapes of 2019 and growing with 20%. So also my thing, we had a few of our customers who thought that 1 year ago we have to invest big because this is the takeoff of online in flowers. Yes, gifting is still growing, but I think as an industry, buying flowers and plants for yourself, that nut we did not crack yet. I see it in all the research we do, and we tried a lot, also that flower group. There's a lot of different propositions, but people buying plants or flowers from themselves, it's a hard market. It's not easy to do that online. It will turn to online. Gifting, of course, is very much online, but for yourself, it's proven to be more difficult last 2 years. And we thought with COVID, okay, we found it because everything was growing, but I have to say we did not find the Holy Grail yet.
Oh, okay. Maybe my wife can give you some advice. She knows how to.
I have a lot of advisors there.
Yeah.
May I add one remark? The problem is also that the cost of delivery for the last mile is very, very expensive, and to organize it in a very efficient way is very difficult in the flower and plant industry. So that's where all the e-commerce companies are struggling with, is how can we manage it in such a way that the delivery cost of the last mile is competitive to buying it in the shop. So I think and what you see also is that e-commerce who are using flower shops to do this are more profitable, but also more successful than if you're delivering it with a direct ship model.
Okay, Abe, for that building on that comment, that the delivery cost of the last mile is a significant issue in how this is going to develop. With some of these big companies probably most advanced in the US, how are they tackling that issue? Is that still a major hurdle for you, or for the retailers there, or not?
Yeah, it's still a major hurdle, Tim. I think that it's 3 phases though, not 2. Phase 1 is people buy it in the store. Phase 2 is they buy it online, they pick it up in the store, and that's a big piece in the United States. So people will click buy, put their basket together, and then go physically to the store and pick up the product, and the stores give them discounts to do that. That's how they eliminate that last mile cost, by encouraging consumers to pick it up themselves. And then the third level is direct to the home. And people are willing to pay that last mile because it's just such a premium on convenience and a premium on, I don't want to have to go out. So they kind of understand the economic model means they're going to have to pay for the shipping. I don't know sustainability wise how long that'll last, because there is a point where Amazon and others can't just do it for free. There's a cost in there. But I think just like when we used to first put UPCs on, when we first have to deliver unrolling racks, when we first had to set up display units in a store, there are costs initially that will get economically viable over time. And it's just a process we have to go through. I'll just tell the whole group, we can't give up on it. I always look at QR codes. 10 years ago, we put QR codes on all our plant tags in the United States. 5 years ago, we took all the QR codes off the plant tags because nobody was using them. We only had about a 1% conversion rate. Then COVID hit, and guess what? QR codes now are relevant and everybody uses them. So we're putting them back on plant tags. And so, sometimes something doesn't work the first year or two. Things have to happen and you kind of learn as you go too.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And Pablo, in terms of your supply from Colombia and your relations with customers, how do you see that? Do you see a growth in that, your customers supplying direct to consumer? Is that influencing the production? And does the information you get online feed back to you as growers, and does it change the way you grow things and the things you do? Sorry,
yes,
questions.
no problem, Tim. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. We are always paying attention. I'll go to the second question about the feedback from the final consumer. We're always paying attention about the trends, about the seasons that are more relevant for the final consumer, so we can take actions about our crop and about the type of content we're posting in our digital communications. So that way we try to influence the market to get a specific product or color that we have available, or we reschedule our crop to be more relevant with the market in that specific period of time. And, and for the first question, yes, there are many companies in Colombia that have programs farm direct to the final consumers. So we're using like couriers like FedEx or UPS to the United States specifically, that can take the flowers in 48 hours to the final consumer. However, sometimes these kind of programs can take you out of focus as a grower, because this kind of model is not a business of flowers. It is a business about logistics and marketing and customer service. And sometimes you're not willing as a grower to spend so much energy and time on that, because you can get easily out of focus. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, I think that's wise comment from experience, I'm sure there. And Jan, how do you find your suppliers how quickly can they react to the information you're gathering off Google, the things that you think we need to be changing supply here? How quickly can your chain react to things you are learning and changes that you make, or do you not want to do quick reactions anyway?
No, but that's not the big challenge. I think we're all very entrepreneurial, and I think the industry is always in for new things. If we have questions or want to do something with growers, there's never a problem of a grower saying, hey, don't have time for it, I don't want to do it. I think the entrepreneurial spirit in our community, in our sector is very much there. So I don't experience any delay if you see an opportunity together.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm always amazed how quick and entrepreneurial everybody is in this industry. I think that's great good.
Yeah.
Also growers are working together. So they have different varieties together, so they can offer really broad range, for example, decorum or other examples. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there's no infrastructure problem. The problem is how can we make an efficient model in these very difficult circumstances in this way. And secondly, it's still a long way from a farmer till where the product is produced till the final consumer at the end of Italy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Stephen, a specific question for you. In terms of online business, can you give us an update on the progress being made in the take-up of FloraHolland and how you see this influencing the future development of the industry? But also keep in mind that many in the audience are maybe not so familiar with the auction system in the Netherlands. But do you see this being a system that could benefit growers in other countries as well that are maybe not currently linked in with the auction system?
Yeah, I think for the people who don't know, the FloraHolland system, which was introduced 4 years ago, is connecting growers with exporters. And in this connection, it will be used not only for ordering, but also for logistics and other information. So it's the basic platform to optimize the value chain. And we are in the start of using this platform at the moment, and adoption is really growing fast at the moment. So our growers are more or less connected to this platform, and the first user cases are already there. And also from the exporters part, the first connections are made. And what you see is that at the moment we're in the first phase, and that's efficiency driven. So what you see, for example, that if a farmer is using this system, then he can reduce his people on the sales desk with between 50 and 75%. And the mistakes are also less. So the quality is really coming up, the efficiency is going down. But you really have to realize, and it's also for the exporters, that you have to change your whole back office. And you need new people, for example, for the catalog, for the right prices, to have different, to fill in for different segments, different propositions. So the whole change is not only using a new system, but the whole change is that digital will bring you to a complete new environment, a new world. And yeah, we are at the moment in the middle of this journey, and I think the potential is very, very large. And hopefully, I think in 1 to 2 years, at least in Europe, it's connected, and we will use it as a very valuable tool to connect the growers with the exporters.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Jan, in the B2B relationships, what are the digital lessons that are being learnt by wholesalers, and how is this changing the relationships with your customers, and how are you maintaining the value of your role in the supply chain through this?
I totally agree with Domingo when he was talking about CRM. It really is more than introducing a web store. It's about a new culture, new capabilities. It's from sales to analytics. It's really, I call it a digital transformation. And that's difficult. It's a change of people more than a change of systems. You know, an e-commerce store, with all respect, you can buy it. Of course, you need good people. It has to work, but that's not the most difficult part. But all your process and the right people, and especially, I think Domingo also mentioned it, the salespeople, their job is really changing a lot. And those are, I think, also we underestimate that a little bit. And the second thing what's important, there's not one floral store or one customer. Every customer is a bit different. So it's not about having one e-commerce store for everybody. You really have to personalize it so that every florist shop has almost their own store with us. So that's much more visionary, because the florist shop, some florists, you also know, they don't have time for all the inspiration. They just want to have ordering in 2 minutes. And another florist shop wants to have on Friday evening and wants to, you know, browse to all the new trends and the new inspiration and watching YouTube videos. And it's very difficult to have those customer journeys, we call them, B2B, and to have them all in the system. So as a salesperson, you have to change and really get in depth with your customer and with your florist shop. So it is a difficult process, I have to say, mainly because of the change of people. Yeah, It's not easy.
But actually, by doing that, by putting the effort into that, actually, that is strengthening your connection and value to your customer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you do it right, the connection becomes really strong, and it's not about the salespeople writing orders anymore. It's really about advising and together explore the opportunities to create value. That is very much, I think, in Harvard lecture, but it's what it is. And it's very difficult in that route. We will never be there. It's step by step.
Yeah.
And also the farmers, there's a lot of knowledge at farmers level. So it's really important that this knowledge is used to get new propositions, to get the information to the end florist, and also that you get interaction. So we're putting a lot also in new varieties, and we are looking for new ways to present new varieties and new possibilities in our Floriday system. So Jan and his company can use, and all the companies can use them in their way to the florist and the final consumer.
So the right, also for you guys, the right content and the right information and the right programs and the right timing is so important in the web store. It's completely different. So really also, if you don't have logins for the web stores, the florists use and how they really get into it. I agree with you. It's a lot about content creation, and we need that content to seduce the florist shop and to seduce the consumer at the end, you know, to buy your beautiful flowers.
Yeah.
For example, we just looked at the Floriday system. At the moment, there are 12 million different items which you can buy already in the Floriday system, and this is expanding a lot. So the question is, how can the florist and how can the exporter and how can we find ways that we find the right ways to present beautiful flowers and plants to our customers so that the demand will go up.
And the florist shop has, I think, 3 minutes to order. So and they have a catalog of 12 million flowers. Big job, huh?
Yeah. 12 million.
And he wants to sell with the consumer, not with the buyer.
Yeah. 12 million flowers, 3 minutes to order. Yeah, okay, I like the difference. Abe, I wonder, from your point of view, do you see in the developments of your social media activity and interaction with the consumer, do you see a potential for conflict between what you're doing and the interests of the retailer at all?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, Tim. We definitely are concerned about that. You know, a few growers are doing different models. Some growers are saying, hey, I can still sell to big box retailers and have my own site and sell to consumers. I have found big box retailers don't like that. They don't want you creating your own store, much like physical store, and they don't like when you're creating your own site to do that. But on the other hand, we do so much more for them in the online relationship with the consumer. A lot to what Pablo said and Steven said, that it is, there's more than just us giving product to their store and then they sell it. We got to develop content on our site so it looks good, or on their site. We actually develop all the content on Walmart.com. We do all the customer service on Walmart.com. We do all the fulfillment on Walmart.com. It doesn't go to a Walmart warehouse. So it basically comes from our facility right to the consumer. And Walmart is just an intermediary helping create that transaction. And that's all it is. So we have become closer to the consumer. And what we found out is two things. They demand a high level of customer service online, and we have to manage that for our retail partners. And number two, and this, we haven't talked this yet, social media also answers a big question that consumers today are asking us, which is, how is this product made? They want to know where it came from, what chemicals you used, how the plant started. These plant parents that people talk about, that's vitally important in your social media as well. So even if you're not directly selling to consumers, there's an education and a knowledge process they're demanding now. And if your name is on that plant on a UPC, they're going to search your site and they want to know what you did to that plant before they purchased it. So there's more than just the dynamic of the transaction. There's the relationship, the customer service, and then this knowledge of that, how they want to know how the product's made now. So it's different. The other thing I'll add, everybody in the room and on this call is in different product lines. And so online, we see foliage plants, almost 20% of them now in the US are sold online, but flowering annuals, only 1 or 2% of them are sold online right now. They're both carried at Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart. They're both plants people enjoy, but the adaptation to online is slower on flowering goods than it is on foliage goods and trees and shrubs. So that's a process that'll take time as number one, consumers get more used to buying it online, but more importantly, as providers figure out how to ship it. That shipment process and how you box and transport a flowering product is a little different than a foliage product. And that's a part we're working on as well.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. And so real difference in the types of products. I wonder, Pablo, do you ever see a time where you're going to be selling your flowers directly to the consumer? You don't need to worry about all the other bits.
So we do, and many farms do as well. In the American or the United States supply chain, all the players add value to the buying experience and to the product. So there are several platforms available for the growers, either in Ecuador or Colombia, where you can post your products and you can gather orders that you can pack in the farm and send it through the couriers to the final consumer. So we're currently doing it, but as I said, all the middlemen and the players are adding value. So they take care of the customer service, and they are constantly asking for information for the growers so they can fill their marketing campaigns and that stuff, telling the story behind the scene to be more active on the sales. So yeah, actually there are many programs that we, as a grower in Colombia, we can have access. And our company currently has a program called Plazoleta Farm to Door. We realized from the beginning of the pandemic that many Colombians living abroad were finding a way to get in touch with their relative in Colombia. So they were like willing to be able to give away flowers, for example, and we were throwing to the trash literally our flowers at that time. So we developed this program, and here in Colombia we're able to be in control of the logistics, and the marketing is easier for us. So we give flowers to our customers' relative that they're living abroad, and they're high quality flowers. So yeah, we have this program, and we found on social media that the perfect channel to spread the message and to say, okay, we have the flowers, you have that need, we can fulfill, we can work together, and we can make it that way. So yeah, we're working on it.
Interesting, thank you. So I'm wondering if you have some questions for the panel. Has anything that they have said stimulated another question in you? Please raise a hand. If you have, right over at the back there, please. A microphone is coming to you. Sorry, I can't see anything. Victor, I think. Yes, Victor from CNLA, Canada.
Thank you to the speakers. Great topics, and thank you for your insight. So Abe said something that triggered some thought for me, which was that the consumers will soon have power, I guess, over the value chain. And we talked a lot about the digital world. So what's your position on social licensing and the public's view of the sector? For example, we had all these flower tributes for the Queen. And one of the main things that came out of it was the concern about plastics. So how quickly can your efforts to promote and market and engage your consumers be suddenly challenged or turned around? How do you address that from a digital standpoint? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a couple things. Number one, again, it's that ability to tell the story about how the product was made and where it came from. I think that's very important to consumers today because they can research this almost anything and they want to do that. Number two, if you're talking, I think from a sustainability standpoint, that's a tough one because when you ship direct to a consumer, there is a lot of packaging that gets involved that you wouldn't have when you buy it at a store. Now, some people would argue the carbon footprint of driving to a store is just as bad as some of that plastic or cardboard. But I think it's something that, especially at Walmart, they work very strongly on and push us on as we develop this online business. We have to figure out how to take as much packaging out or make it multi-purpose or whatever it may be. So it's a big piece. One thing I'll add to that, one of the ways we're trying to help with some of that relationship, we're actually developing now a subscription service. So actually what a person can do is that gifting process Stephen talked about, they can buy one-time subscription and we will send a plant to a person 5 to 6 to 7 times a year. And we actually get the revenue at the start of the year. That makes it real interesting on the model and the economic model and how we work it. Not relevant to that question, but I wanted to add that in all Stephen's comment earlier around gifting. It's not just gift when you think about it and click, it's gift when I don't have to think about it. When I can just say, I need to send my grandmother flowers 4 or 5 times a year. In January, I can just pay Walmart.com $500 to $1,000, and then Metrolina will supply that plant to that person on Mother's Day, on Valentine's Day, on her birthday, and at Christmas, and they get that plant. And it's the model's changing rapidly, and we all have to kind of adapt to that as that time comes along.
Thank you. Yeah, I think clearly on social media things can turn against you as well in a moment, and so the industry has to be sure that it's ready for that. Jan, do you have any thing to add on those comments, question?
No, I agree. We have to make our total supply chain more and more sustainable, and that's, I think, we're making great progress. I think sometimes we are a little bit shy to tell about it because we're afraid that people will say, yeah, but the other 50% you still have to do. So I think we can be more proud on it, what we do. And it's a road, you know, and it's for the coming years. I think we all make our promises, and it's also hard work. And with the plastic, yeah, we make it thinner. We have already solutions, but they cost a little bit too much money still. So we will get there as long as we have and tell also the story that it is also a struggle, and also tell the honest truth sometimes that it doesn't work, but we're working on it and we will improve it. But in my view, if we don't make it sustainable, our supply chains, especially in Europe then, and the US maybe, but also for the coming 10 years, we are in serious trouble as an industry. That's what I see. And when I listen to my kids, I see it also happening. Yeah, they ask more questions to Dad now about plastics and about where does it come from. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions that we have over here in the middle?
Thank you very much for the very interesting panel session. I'm from MPS. I'm new to this business, almost started 3 weeks ago. I want to extend on this topic you spoke before, Abe. Do you have any insights how important in the consumer decision-making process the sustainability topics and is? Because it's with the producers and all the packaging, but do consumers really make a different decision for a more sustainable packaging or a more sustainable plant?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's a hard one because sustainability is a broad topic. We can talk about the plastic, we can talk about the chemicals we use, we can talk about whether, especially in the western part of the US, if a plant needs more water than putting in grass. I mean, that's a big discussion on water usage. So sustainability is such a broad topic. I believe it was Stephen or Jan who said we don't talk about it enough in our industry. We actually are scared of the topic. We ought to be super proud of this topic. This ought to be something the industry promotes versus other forms of entertainment and leisure. Live goods is a good way to enhance the environment and enhance your emotional well-being. There's a lot of benefits there. And I think sometimes we're so scared of the plastic side of it, we forget about all the good things we do. One thing I'll add that we kind of pivoted about 5 years ago. We looked at all types of alternative packaging, core fiber, all these different types of pots, things of that nature. And we went and developed a program with all 3 retailers where consumers bring their plastic back to the store, and then we bring it back to our facility and recycle it. And many times we can reuse the trays that the product comes in, some of the containers, and then we partner with plastic producers to reuse that plastic. I don't think consumers would love the what happens to recycled plastic. There's a lot of different variants that it turns into, but the consumer feels good about that. And that's really released our responsibility to try to come up with more expensive alternative packaging, when on our website and on the retailer's website, they can talk about the millions of pounds of plastic that both consumers and stores have returned to the producers to reuse and recycle. So we've had to change the narrative because I think it's very difficult to try to find alternative packaging when we can find different ways to tell the story on plastic and be able to reuse and recycle plastic rather than trying to eliminate plastic in the process.
Thank you. Either of you want to comment on this issue? Stephen?
I'm really in with what John said. I think we are underestimating what we're already doing, and we are not promoting it. If you look, for example, for flowers in the Netherlands, you see them on every market. The buckets which we are using, they are used for many, many years and reused, rewashed. And the same will happen in the future for plants, I'm for sure, especially on legislation. But we have to promote it more as an industry. The fundamental point is still that if you are flower producing and it is used for only 1 week and then it is brought, it's not usable again. That's there we have to find a way how we can produce it on an energy neutral way, because that will be the end to protecting the beautiful flower part of our industry.
Yeah.
To your question, we see it differs a lot per country. So the Nordics are more, and in Sweden, and also urban versus not urban, so we measure it. But guys, for the consumer part in Europe, they talk a lot about it, but when you give them the choice, willing to pay for it is very low, I will be very honest, from a consumer point of view. And we tested a lot of things. So price, quality, easiness is much more important than sustainability yet. So I think legislation is also needed here, and that's coming in with the Green Deal in Europe, and I think that will accelerate a few things.
So sustainability becomes an expectation, and rather than a premium in a sense. Yeah,
we saw already this on the news with the recession, people taking care of their energy bills. That I think was the organic stuff buying was already going down also in the Netherlands. So everybody's talking about organic. I've been in other businesses for 20 years and still 1-2% I think in food. So people talk a lot about it. It's very important when in front of a shelf. But what we see, they do something else with their money. Yeah, and that's in a lot of countries.
They are choosing for their own wallet, especially when you don't have the money. And that's the situation at the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's have, there's 2 questions. We've run out of time really, but over here, yes, it was the next one in line. And then we probably have to make that the last one. Sorry, Jack.
We can go on. Huh?
It's an interesting discussion. I have a question. I'll be wondering what your view is on the risk and the dangers of a platform like Amazon entering our business. I know that in the US, Amazon is already selling fresh flowers. I think in Europe, at least in the Netherlands, they don't. How do you guys see this risk?
Amazon is not selling, so we are selling on Amazon. So
Amazon, but through Amazon.
Platform, and I think it's a great opportunity. But it's not so easy to sell a lot on Amazon, because the same with the last mile and all the marketing around it. So we use the platform, also bol.com in the Netherlands, Amazon in the UK. We have to find out a lot, and for plants a little bit easier than flowers. The platform will be one part of the channels going to the consumer. We're learning a lot from it. It's not easy. I think maybe Pablo or I'm also selling via Amazon. It's not an easy game, but we have to be there as a flower and plant industry because the consumer is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that, that the consumer's there. So whether we like it or not, we don't have a choice, but I see it as a opportunity. Amazon does charge you a premium and they don't do anything. We do, again, the content, we do the fulfillment, we handle the customer service. Amazon literally is a transaction method for the consumer in this process. And we don't get charged that premium at the other 3 retailers because we already had that existing relationship with their store business. The hardest thing with Amazon is they don't know our industry and they're just seeing us as another product or another economic item. And so it's a challenge, but it's a challenge we have to accept and manage.
Okay, go on then, Jack. Go on, this is too interesting. Stephen has to rush off to an aeroplane, but we'll try not to make it any. Last question, Jack.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. A question, we've been talking about sustainability, but I think accountability is becoming more and more important in modern life, in our society. We are actually in the business of selling emotion. And how can we use the input that we get on social media on the accountability front to create a new narrative that we can use to sell the emotion that we're actually selling in the end? Because the accountability side is really on facts and mostly quite negative, but it also is a source of information that we can use to develop this new narrative. So how do you see this, and how can we use social media to our advantage in this field?
Okay, who would like to answer that one? Pablo, do you want to have a go?
Okay, thank you. That's a tough one because as an industry, we have a big challenge now, especially with the new generations. We see all these new generations and digital native that are thinking in a very different way. They are very free and they're moving around. They don't want to stay in any place for a long time, but at the same time, they have show up that they are very sensitive. So we have a big opportunity because we have plants and flowers and they are part of the well-being, and these new generations care about the well-being and the well-being of others. So we have a big chance to create this story, this narrative where flowers and plants are very important for their life, even if they don't want to buy a house or stay in the same place for a long time. So we need to start creating stories that can match and these new generations can feel part of. So
yeah, and Pablo, I agree. I think one of the things we miss is we have a major opportunity here. Walmart will tell you on their website and all their social media platforms, there are 4 things that drive clicks: kids, pets, food, and flowers. And so we are in a pretty rarefied air that we are right there with kids, pets, and food that drive clicks. And so we know people are coming to look at flowers. Now it's in our job to fulfill them and figure out how to get that product in their hands.
Okay, yes, what greater product we have in our industry that to drive clicks than flowers. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I'm going to have to stop it there but it's been really interesting, and I really want to thank all on the panel. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Abe. Thank you, Pablo. Please give them a round of applause and thank you.